Hi, Mystery Reviews here. Today I'm going to show you horror and mystery movie called Immaculate. The movie starts in the convent with a young nun named Sister Mary praying. After her prayer, she quietly went into a senior nun's room to take the keys and try to escape. She couldn't open the gate, so she squeezed through the bars, but her leg got caught by one of three hooded figures chasing her. She screamed as the person broke her leg, and then she passed out from the pain. When she woke up, she realized she had been buried alive. Sister Cecilia is a young woman who strongly believes in her religion. She had just come to the pretty Italian countryside for a new job that Father Sal Tedeschi, a priest, gave her. She arrived at a special convent where elderly nuns are cared for during their last days. She got a friendly greeting and was given a tour by another sister named Isabel. Then Sister Isabel took Cecilia to see her room. Sister Isabel seemed annoyed and told her to leave before she changes her mind. But Cecilia was sure. She then met and became friends with Sister Gwen before getting ready for the ceremony. During the ceremony, Cecilia was happy to see Father Tedeschi again. After the ceremony, she talked to Father Tedeschi, who shared his love for the convent. Cecilia then opened up about her past, which led her to choose to be a nun. When Cecilia was 12, she enjoyed walking on a frozen lake. One day, the ice broke, and she fell in the water. She nearly drowned and was considered dead for 7 minutes. Cecilia thanked God for saving her and felt like she had a new reason to live. When Father Sal Tedeschi asked her to join the special Italian convent, she said yes right away. After the event, Cecilia was in the bathroom when she heard someone crying. She searched for the source of the sound and discovered a nun kneeling and crying while praying. Cecilia comforted the nun, but got scared when the nun turned to look at her, revealing a faceless face. Then the Reverend Mother appeared, took Cecilia to the altar, and grabbed a large rusty nail from a glass box. The Reverend Mother said it's a nail from the cross where Jesus was killed. Then she showed Cecilia her hand with a hole in it, like Jesus's hand. The Reverend Mother said it shows she's sorry for her sins. Cecilia fainted when she saw the Reverend Mother's hand. After waking up, Cecilia tried to talk to the cardinal, but he didn't respond. As she called out to him, she was suddenly grabbed from behind by multiple people and found herself tied up with hooded figures in front of her. Someone touched her face, and that's when Cecilia woke up from her bad dream. She glanced at the door and saw a figure looking at her, slowly getting closer. Cecilia turned on the lamp to see better, but didn't see anyone by the door. During breakfast, the Reverend Mother was talking to everyone while Cecilia was laughing with Gwen. The Reverend Mother saw them and scolded the two young sisters. Then, the young nuns learned how things worked at the special convent. She and Gwen enjoyed themselves as they worked hard, and the young nuns took care of a dying older nun before she passed away. Cecilia saw Sister Isabel looking at her, but when a white sheet blocked her view, she couldn't see Sister Isabel anymore. That night, Cecilia was almost asleep when an older nun surprised her by cutting her hair. Cecilia was puzzled but didn't dwell on it, instead guiding the older nun back to the clinic where the sickly nuns stay. Before leaving, she spotted a scar on another nun's foot in the form of a cross. The next day, Cecilia and the other young nuns were in the bath. Gwen was telling Cecilia how she came to join the convent. Gwen used to live with her ex-boyfriend who used to hit her. Gwen hit him back before leaving him. When she found a convent and saw nuns living in it, she thought they were lucky to have a place to live, sleep, and eat for free. So, she decided to join the convent, even though it doesn't mean she doesn't believe in God. She does, but she isn't as dedicated as the other nuns. Cecilia was simply listening quietly to Gwen when she suddenly felt unwell. She had a medical examination, and while waiting for the result, she saw a shape outside. She observed the shape for a bit, but got scared when a bird fell in front of her. Cecilia was then summoned to the cardinal's office, where she was interrogated. The cardinal asked her if she had committed the sin of breaking her vows before she joined the convent, and Father Tedeschi comforted her into telling the truth, mistaking Cecilia's confusion for reluctance. However, Cecilia still insisted that she had never broken any of her vows after promising herself to God. Everyone was very surprised to hear this news. Father Tedeschi asked Cecilia if she had ever been intimate with a man before, but she assured them that she had never been in a relationship and was still a virgin. The doctor checked on Cecilia once more, and everyone was in disbelief when they found out that she was actually pregnant. The cardinal and Father Tedeschi were overjoyed, believing that Cecilia was like the Virgin Mary. They held a special ceremony to celebrate what they saw as a miracle from God. However, Sister Isabel and Gwen did not look pleased at all. Cecilia was in her second trimester when she started noticing strange things happening. She felt sick and then realized that one of her teeth had fallen out. When she walked into the dining area, everyone, except for Gwen, stood up to greet her with a smile and only sat back down when she had been seated. An older nun gave her breakfast and reminded her not to walk around too much since she was pregnant. Gwen was annoyed by the way the sisters were treating Cecilia, but deep down, she was just worried about her friend. After breakfast, Cecilia was relaxing in the bathtub when someone suddenly pushed her under the water. She found that it was Isabel. She struggled as Isabel tried to drown her, but then a senior nun came running in with two younger nuns. The nuns pulled Isabel away with a ladder while she screamed about how it should have been her. The doctor checked on Cecilia, and Father Tedeschi was relieved to know that the baby was okay, but Cecilia wasn't okay. She was very upset and didn't understand what had happened. She explained what Isabel was shouting as she was taken away. Isabel thinks she should have been in Cecilia's place, and Cecilia doesn't know what that means. Father Tedeschi reassured her, saying it was just jealousy, and Isabel wouldn't be able to hurt her again. Cecilia insisted on going to the hospital to see a different doctor because she wasn't happy with Dr. Gallo's care at the convent. When she told Father Tedeschi about vomiting up a tooth, he didn't think it was a big deal and said she was healthy. After Isabel's experience, Cecilia became more cautious and suspicious of the other nuns. One day, while walking down the hallway, she saw two nuns staring at her from a window. Then, someone jumped from the rooftop, and when Cecilia went to look, she was horrified to see that it was Isabel. As they walked with the other nuns to bury Isabel, Gwen whispered to Cecilia to open her eyes and see that no one in the convent could be trusted. Gwen had never trusted anyone, and now, with odd things happening to Cecilia, she was even more convinced that the senior members of the convent were hiding something. Father Tedeschi noticed them talking and approached, asking what was wrong, but Gwen just yelled at everyone, asking how they could be so indifferent to Isabel's death. She continued insulting the convent and its superiors until she was pulled away by Father Tedeschi and Deacon Enzo. Cecilia was sitting on her bed when a picture frame on the wall became loose and almost fell. She noticed something written behind the frame and saw a Bible verse written in Italian. It said 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14, so she looked for it in her English Bible. Cecilia was surprised when she read the words, "Satan himself often masquerades as an angel of light," and started to believe that Gwen had been telling the truth. She snuck into Gwen's room but didn't see her inside. So she went into the cardinal's office and looked through her own files. She found a newspaper clipping about the accident she barely escaped. Cecilia jumped in surprise when she heard a scream, and she quietly followed where the sound was coming from. The screams got louder, and she peeked through the keyhole to see inside the room where she heard the screams coming. Cecilia cried as she saw a nun without a face cutting Gwen's tongue. Cecilia slowly backed away from the door and was surprised when a sickly nun covered her mouth to stop her from screaming. It was the same nun who cut a few pieces of her hair. The sickly nun smiled and gave her a cross with her hair wrapped around it. Cecilia asked the nun to help her and escape with her, but the nun ominously told her that no one can ever leave the convent. One day, nurses were awakened by Cecilia's screams. They, along with Father Tedeschi, hurried to Cecilia's room and found her bleeding heavily. Cecilia pleaded with Father Tedeschi to help her because she didn't want to die. Father Tedeschi decided to rush her to the nearest hospital. However, it was all a trick. A nurse remained in Cecilia's room, praying next to the bloody bed. When she noticed that the blood had a different smell, she discovered a bag under the bed and realized that the blood was actually from a dead chicken. On their way to the hospital, Father Tedeschi received a call and learned that Cecilia was only pretending to have a miscarriage so she could escape. Cecilia knew she had been caught and ran out of the car, but she couldn't run very fast, and Father Tedeschi easily caught her. She was taken back to the convent, and an older nun washed her aggressively while scolding her for trying to escape. When Cecilia talked back, The older nun hit her in the face. Cecilia was then tied to a chair in front of the cross where Jesus was nailed. Father Tedeschi put on gloves and took the nail, showing it to Cecilia as he explained his plan to her. Father Tedeschi used to study genes before he became a priest. He used his knowledge to take DNA samples from the nail of the crucifixion, and with them, he made a new Jesus Christ. For 2 decades, Father Tedeschi faced nothing but failures until Cecilia came into the picture, and he finally succeeded in creating another Virgin Mary who would give birth to the new Jesus. Father Tedeschi took Cecilia to the basement and showed her the jars containing the unborn babies. Only a few of the unborn babies looked normal, while most looked terrifying. Father Tedeschi led her to another room where his assistant, Deacon Enzo, held Cecilia's leg up so Father Tedeschi could mark Cecilia's feet with the shape of a cross. After that, Cecilia was locked in a room to stop her from escaping again. During the final months of her pregnancy, Cecilia spoke to the cardinal with tears in her eyes while accidentally pulling her nail out. The doctor checked on her baby and then left her with the Reverend Mother. As the Reverend Mother was focused on the baby monitor, Cecilia quietly took the crucifix and tragically harmed her. Later, Cecilia left the room, trying hard to hold back the pain from her water breaking. The cardinal was smoking while watching the choir sing when Cecilia snuck up behind him. She strangled the cardinal with her rosary, and Dr. Gallo caught her and ran away in fear. Cecilia didn't think much of him and went straight to the basement, poured ethanol all over Father Ted's lab, and lit a lighter. When Father Tedeschi showed up, Cecilia felt pain in her belly and bent over, giving Father Tedeschi enough time to stop her from setting his lab on fire. Cecilia then grabbed a flask and hit Father Tedeschi on the head with it before running away. Cecilia trapped Father Tedeschi in the lab, but he grabbed her hair, stopping her from getting away. Cecilia tried to break free by grabbing his finger, but Father Tedeschi pulled her back with his other hand. Then, she used her lighter to start a fire, which spread to Father Tedeschi and the lab. Despite this, Father Tedeschi escaped and broke through the door, while Cecilia fled down the stairs and found herself in the catacombs under the convent. She desperately searched for a way out before taking a moment to rest. Cecilia got really scared when she heard a voice calling out to her in the chamber. She turned on the lights and was horrified to see Gwen's badly hurt body. She quickly left the chamber, searching for a way out, and then spotted some daylight coming through a hole. But before she could escape, Father Tedeschi caught her and started doing weird rituals while trying to hurt her so he could take her baby. Cecilia was in a lot of pain, but she managed to use a crucifixion nail to stop Father Tedeschi by stabbing him in the throat. He dropped dead, and Cecilia crawled out through the hole to safety. Cecilia fell to her knees and screamed while having her baby. She was really scared when she saw her baby. Even though she couldn't see the baby, she knew something was wrong because it made strange, scary sounds. Using her teeth, Cecilia cut the cord that connected her to the baby and then picked up a rock. She screamed as she used the rock to stop the monster baby. The end. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more videos.